You gentlemen, welcome once again to the show here. Chances are you like Dawson's Point with that. You're here to do it with us tonight. Listen, I know I'm wearing my 49ers cap. I should probably be wearing black, mourning the season that's about to die, allegedly, after the 49ers have lost to the Chiefs and have the Cowboys coming up in basically like if you were to do a reboot of MASH, would it be safe to put it in San Francisco? I don't know. Anyway, no, I'm not comparing San Francisco to the Vietnam War. I'm not saying that's a political statement. Take it easy, folks. Punchline's this. That Chiefs team handled the 49ers in what might be Brock Purdy's. He looked more like Brock Osweiler. Brock Purdy's worst game of 2024 for the 49ers. So, and whether you're listening to this on the podcast, on any of your podcast catchers, Sartoba Media, Hello Podcast, wherever it may be, I don't think anyone's surprised by that if you listen to this show, just because I didn't think the 49ers win that game. Granted, I didn't think it was going to be quite that bad. But then the Kansas City Chiefs, over and above going 6-0, over and above being a lot of the people in the media's favorite 2-3-peat, went out today and got DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I will grant you, this isn't prime DeAndre Hopkins, but that dude's good, right? And it feels like at some point during at least one of the campaigns, right, the Chiefs have made a move, the moving around of Mecole Hardman, that whole thing. We've heard the call, and at this time last year he was a Jet, or at the beginning of the season he was a Jet, or whatever, in the victory the past year. I'm not here to say that this locks in a Super Bowl victory for the Chiefs, but it certainly doesn't hurt their chances. This has a feel to me sort of kind of like an Odell Beckham Jr. to the LA Rams, and we know how that finished that year. Odell Beckham Jr., of course, got hurt in the Super Bowl, of which he was at that time performing in a fashion that way where he would have campaigned for an MVP, where Aaron Charles Donald eventually would be the MVP of the game. I don't give a damn what the media voted. Aaron Donald was the MVP of the game, and that's how I'm going to fill my cup moving forward. That being said, yes, there was a pun there in case you couldn't figure it out. If you were on the podcast, you didn't see me do the Dr. Evil Pinky to signify me dad joking there. But I'm not prepared, like I said, to palm the Chiefs into the Super Bowl. Man, it's going to be hard to stop them. They have just enough offense and an unstoppable, it feels, or a multi-stopping defense. There we go. Chris Jones won't get MVP votes, but he should. That being said, is the NFL currently down to the Chiefs, Ravens, and Lions as top tiers, right? And I've talked about this with EJ Christian and others. I'll throw a bill on this conversation with everything that's going on. But it certainly feels like the AFC, for all the alleged weaker conference talk we've heard, mostly due to injury, let's be honest, is that the issue? I don't know. But in the NFC, I do feel robbed that Jaden Daniels will not be playing, hosting the Bears with Caleb Williams. And as somebody who usually hates this sort of thing, it's this quarterback versus this quarterback. I know they're not playing each other, but that's a compelling matchup. And listen, objectively speaking, folks, would you rather see Caleb Williams try to win in a potential shootout game with Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota? Yeah, exactly. So that's all I have to say about that. Just going around here, go around the league real quick with the NFL. I'm going to say I tried to warn you, but you wouldn't listen about the New York Jets. Not to say that I was unique to that, but those of you who believed in the Jets, I'm still going to need to help. If you can help me understand what it was I saw, that would be great. Because I don't know what y'all were thinking if you thought the Jets were going to the playoffs. Just saying. By the way, great tackle by Davante Adams. Anyways, shouts to Russell Carrington Wilson, by the way, for bouncing back, having a good game after starting slow, knocking the rust off. We'll see how he looks moving forward as the schedule gets tougher a few weeks down the line. I know that the Steelers have the Giants next week, but yeah, we'll more on that later, as we say around here, right? I did want to bring up this too before I get into some other stuff, and that's thank you. Thank you very much, AP voters, for executing something that I approve of. You very silly fashion ranked Iowa State ahead of BYU. That doesn't make any sense. You having Penn State in even the top 10 confuses me. Sure. But you ranked Vanderbilt for all the joy for the underdog and the G5 that we've seen in Army and Navy both being ranked 23 and 24 respectively, which may all change after the Notre Dame game for Navy. I mean, it's not that I'm anti Notre Dame. I'm just sick of the favoritism they get, and to see Navy justify that would be nice, but it's not going to happen. That being said, it would be the premier victory on Navy's schedule right now to knock a team out of the rankings. I will give them that much credit. Anyways, Vanderbilt's ranked. You thought you'd never see the day, but here we are. And I appreciate you, AP voters, for not being cowards, as I accused you of last week. And I'm glad you did it this week, because after Texas beat them, I don't know that you'll get another chance at that particular point. You know, and by the way, referencing somebody screaming and yelling and calling people names and then ending up getting their way like I did with the Vanderbilt Commodores being ranked. I know that everybody's been sounding off about the pass interference that was called and then reversed on what did appear to look like crowd pressure. And I know it's not a unique concept. Kirby wasn't the only one smart enough to say it. Yes. In the post-game press conference. Of course, Georgia dominating Texas in the fact that I know I didn't see coming because Georgia gave us no reason to, right? You've lost to Alabama. You've struggled against Kentucky. You've played down to the opposition, or you played to match the opposition. I'm not going to say you played down to Alabama. Granted, Alabama is not last year's Alabama and all that stuff. I understand that. Caleb DeBoer and all that. He hasn't lost to Louisiana Monroe like Nick Saban did his first year at Alabama. So let's pump the brakes a minute on that, right? But Georgia gave us no reason to believe in them to win that game, and then they do that and beat Texas in dominant fashion. A part of me wonders if Texas was reading too many headlines, because from all the experts and pundits that, for all that I know the game, you know, I listened to Joel Klatt, and rightly so, as the guy who is, in my opinion, the best at the business in breaking certain things down. And hearing him talk about Georgia dominating Texas, he made me kind of feel like this was more about Texas having a bad outing than it was about Georgia winning it, which is why if I think these two teams play each other in the playoff, or when these teams play each other in the playoff, I don't know, maybe that's a little cocky, but I feel like Texas is going to win the rematch, assuming, you know, they don't completely collapse. Vanderbilt doesn't Vanderbilt, as they have very dangerously come close to doing. What do I mean dangerous? As they have. Stop it. They beat Alabama, Kale. Settle down. The Commodores made it look easy like Sunday morning. Oh. Anyways. So I would imagine Georgia is going to continue to play at the level of their opponent, which for dog fans has to be infuriating. So there's that. Then The NBA season starts today. And I don't know that I've addressed this theory on this show, and I'm going to call it a theory for now because I need to obviously see some games and more than just two. Obviously, I record this on Wednesday as this is going. The Magic and Heat will probably be, I'll say about halftime or so in their season openers, and then I'm going to be at the Magic home opener on Friday, writing for Fans First Sports Network. So there's that. But out west, I think it's going to be the same culprits, right? Minnesota, Denver, even without Contavious Caldwell-Pope, who's now a member of the Orlando Magic. Shouts to, I guess we're calling him Kenny now? I don't know. Shouts to KCP, of course, for his gracious reception of us at the media, 2 Thursdays ago at Media Day, and continuing to be just a cool guy to talk to. But the East is interesting. I'm pretty sure the Magic are going to make the playoffs again, barring injury issues, which, I mean, if you're a Magic fan, the fact that they've had the healthiest offseason in some time, the only real big thing being a Wendell Carter Jr. ankle sprain, it's kind of ominous. But the East, I don't think is going to look the same. As a matter of fact, and you're like, but Kyle, you're going to make it all about the Magic. No, I'm not. I think you'll see some lower seeded playoff teams now be more in the upper half. And I say lower seeded, I don't mean like, 8th or anything like that. I mean, I think the Cleveland Cavaliers and Orlando Magic will finish higher this year than they did last year, right? And this somebody will be out there, well, Kyle, gosh, you say basketball is your third language. Why should we trust you? And that's fair. But, I mean, looking at it, like the Cavs finished 4th, the Magic finished 5th, like there. I'm thinking the Magic might go 4, which would make me believe the Cavs go up to 3. I don't know. The Knicks aren't going to be second. Let me lead with that. I don't think that group stays healthy long enough to, have the same ranking, to be as high. And, with all the rumblings and issues that are currently going on with the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, blah, blah, blah. Who knows what's going to happen, but that's going to be interesting. With the Miami Heat, Himmy Buckets, Jimmy Butler, of course, and Bam Adebayo are another year older. How much can Tyler be your hero, baby? I don't know. Do I think the Bucks will be third again? Will they have the defense finished, and the team chemistry worked out with Dame and Giannis there? I don't know that. I don't know that. Will the Pacers shore up their defense? Here are the things I'm sure of. The Knicks and the Sixers will be less of a factor than they were last year. But Kyle, the Sixers were the 7th seed. They weren't that great. Yeah. And Joel Embiid is already banged up in the preseason, declaring he won't play back-to-backs for the rest of his career. Now, when asked about this last week before the Magic game started preseason with them and the Sixers, Coach Nick Nurse had said, I don't know about all that. We haven't had that conversation. But I know that Joel Embiid has said it, right? And if that's the case, I don't see the Sixers winning 47 games again. Will it only be 46? Maybe. I don't know. But do the Magic do better than 47 wins, right? Because remember, the Eastern Conference had 3 teams all locked in at 47 and all this. I think the Sixers are going to be less of a factor as injuries will creep in, and Paul George, well, that's always been something that hasn't gone as well as it should. And this isn't me saying Paul George is bad, but Joel Embiid's health continues to be an issue. That's why I'm skeptical there. For those who need a football equivalency of where I'm coming from, think Anthony Richardson for the Colts, right? The Knicks, I think, are going to suffer the same way the 49ers did this season in similar fashion, in that health will be more of an issue. Do I think that Jalen Brunson's going to get hurt? No. But I mean his supporting cast. And Brunson's going to be able to do a lot. I don't think the Knicks win 50 games. I don't think they're the number 2 seed. I could be wrong. Maybe the Bucks figure it out and fill that gap to go number 2, or maybe they drop some more. Am I insinuating that it's possible for Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers to be 2 games better than last year? Can you rule it out? I'm not prepared to. From what I've heard from Donovan Mitchell and that group in Cleveland, they're more confident somehow than they were than last year. Because I remember talking to some Cleveland staff, and buddy, let me tell you, they were deflated. And maybe this is all wrong, and I'm just speculating here on the first day of an NBA season, and everybody gets to laugh at me. Because maybe we live in the world where, maybe I'm going to say something that's wildly horrendous so everybody could laugh, but like maybe the Brooklyn Nets actually make the playoffs this year, right? Anyways, the Heat may also do better too as a result, or maybe they have injury issues again. There's just so much. I feel like there's so much age that limits a lot of the teams in the East that I don't know what to think of it. Because at the end of the day, we're all pretty sure Boston's going to be number 1 unless Kristaps Porzingis completely is obliterated. And even still, they'll be number 1. It'll just be a little bit more resistance than last year. Will they be given an easy track again? Maybe. But it's hard to pick against the Celtics right now as the number 1 seed lock in. Am I saying that the Magic will get to number 4 or higher? Yeah, I think I am actually. Again, provided health. But that's the thing. I think that's kind of the point I wanted to make is for the NBA season upcoming here, health in the East is going to drive things because how much depth do these teams really have? I don't know that. But Kyle, isn't any NBA team one superstar injury away from being garbage? Yeah, maybe. But I think out west, too, you have younger blood in Ant Edwards. And, what's going on there with Minnesota and all that, I think is a big deal. Jokic may be aging, but he's not Joel Embiid old in that he's not been hurt like that. He's not Jimmy Butler old that he's been carrying a team. Jokic, while he's clearly the star, does it by committee and is more known for passing. Or I shouldn't say more known, but known as much for passing as he is a scoring acumen. So I think that kind of preserves him, makes him more dangerous long-term. So anyways, it being the season debut, I wanted to walk through a little bit of NBA just so somebody talked about it. And then, hey, listen, if y'all think I'm saying something ridiculous, I would ask you to, allow me to be a student of the game and teach me something in the comments. Tell me something where you think I'm completely out of my mind. I will listen to you and take it at the very least under advisement, if not outright adjust my stance, for lack of a better word. So, like I said, with the NBA, I'm still learning. And make sure you see my other musings, by the way, specific to the Orlando Magic on Fans First Sports Network. I have at least 3, if not 4 articles out right now for preseason stuff and media day. And Friday, I will be in the building at the Kia Center for my first elaborations on the Magic getting off the ground. Of course, obviously, it's either going to be overly enthusiastic or an early shout of panic, as any coverage of the NBA would be after 2 games in. But, give the people what they want. That's the saying, right? So, anyways, all right. You know what? Let's get to it. Let's pick some NFL games. Like the fans did Deshaun Watson after his injury, but that's just how I feel. Which, by the way, not great, Bob. I know that Browns fans are what's his word, passionate. I didn't know that they were that vindictive. Yeah, that's a bit much for me, and then the players defending with that. And I believe the Jags struggle in that football game. And there'll be a lot more in-depth analysis of why on the Duval Dive. Make sure you like and subscribe. Seattle Seahawks. If the Seahawks hope to take advantage of a downtrodden Niner team in the fashion that they did taking care of the Falcons, that'll do it for this edition, this quick hit edition of the Student of the Game. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the Student of the Game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the Student of the Game. Check out my writings with the Fans First Sports Network covering the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Orlando Magic. Also, make sure you check out my work on the Black and Gold Banneret with so have something up for that, as well as Brigham Young BYU coming to town to UCF for homecoming. Oh God, that did not go according to plan. But yeah, I will be there on scene with the Black and Gold Banneret, not only writing this week's edition of Night Class, but also joining from the Bounce House, the Night Shift Live podcast there too, to get that rolling. And my friend Eric Lopez, Bryson Turner, and of course Don Struble all be in effect handling the business there to bring you that reaction. So make sure you check that out. Should be a fun time all the way around. So yeah, that being said, oh, by the way, don't forget the Duval Dive Wednesday night, 7:30 Eastern. Of course, if you're listening to this on the Sertova Media YouTube channel or any of those places, you could also check out Fans First Sports Network podcast. It's the podcast edition of the Duval Dive. That's a fun time all the way around. So with that, thanks for jumping in, talking the sport with me. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed. No, we need a louder bell than that. There we go.